Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? We are back once again painting Magnus, and today we're doing his sword. Why is there so much paint out? Just to paint one sword. What crazy bullshit could we be doing tonight? We're going to give this guy a bi-color changing lava sword. Because a regular sword is no good. A non-metallic metal sword isn't going to fit. And just doing a plain old orange sword, we've done that many times. There's one right there. But if we went from one color all the way through this little rainbow to another, and not only that, made both of these flame spheres the correct shade for the start and finish of our color shift, and then made it a lava sword, now we're talking. Now we're talking. So today, there's going to be a whole fuck of a lot of airbrushing. We're going to be airbrush central or stream until we've got that fade perfect. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. It's the first time I've done anything this ambitious with the airbrush. Too many sprues. Host with the most. So this is going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it. The inspiration struck driving home earlier on. It's going to be fun. In the chat, we've got Too Many Sprues. This is Kets TV, MCG Jager, The Crooked Grin. That's Undez, AJC72. I'm pretty sure I saw Viking in there earlier on as well. Hope you guys are all okay. Hope you've had a good week. Right. Let's get it on. So we're going to start out by explaining what I've done to the hand. The hand might look really glossy in comparison to the other things that we've highlighted, such as the face. And the reason for that is the hand has had 2 coats of a liquid mask applied to it. Trying to protect all of the work that we've done on the blue. Wanted to do all that first to make sure the skin colors were exactly the same as the rest of the mini. I'm hoping just the lightest touch-up will do for this after we've removed the mask. Potentially even later on today. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get this all back to black. We've got some black ink on deck for that. Let's get started. Let's go indeed, brother. Commissar Bob! Good to see you as always, man. Appreciate the fact you can't always stay long. Thanks for stopping by. Get some flow improver in. Tiz! What up, brother? So using Liquitex Carbon Black. I'm going to be back and forth with a hairdryer a fair bit tonight as well. I think I'm going to do the feather green into maybe a blue as well, just to give him something kind of special, something a little bit different. God, I hope that liquid mask has worked. 2 coats should be fine. Might be a fucker to remove. We will find out. So who's been doing some hobby? Who's got their Warhammer on? Anyone been doing anything fun? Anyone else done anything as crazy? Fuck it, let's just do the lot. Let's just paint the whole thing black. I don't know. As crazily ambitious as this. The Ripper's finally got there. Awesome, mate. Awesome. Malev is a phenomenal choice to raid. Love that dude. Super chill. Always painting something cool. Got our ninja style on deck. Did he give you a freestyle? Mr. Brutal! What up, brother? That sucks, man. Really sorry to hear that. It is what it is right now, though, with the virus. The Netherlands is still not one of the places that you get safe travel to from the UK. And I'm not booking anything until that is the case. So the Alliance Open Super Major we gave a ticket away to is still on the cards for something I want to be going to, I want to be doing, but kind of watching this space on that one. Crownblade, how you doing? A-Cold, there you go, he's getting 90 pieces of terrain done. I've got some terrain to do. Gotta get some Necron terrain down. AJC, been teaching all my new kids and old at my school club how to play Night. Had 16 new kids. Damn, son. There we go. Right, let's get this right down. Now, the next step, we're going to take some white ink. We're going to build up some pre-highlights on all of this. We're going to start making the orbs look a little bit more interesting. Get some value layer put down on there. Same deal for the sword blade. There's so much going on with this dude. If you think about it, there's probably, because of what we're doing to this sword, as much detail on this sword as on an entire miniature. So there's a lot happening. MCG Jaeger, have fun with that, man. Right. Going 2-1, white to flow improver. Tony Montana! Doing well, man. Doing well. Legit have absolutely no reasons to complain right now. I got nothing. As always, when you're working with white ink, stir with something clean. Don't use the brush that's been sat in your dirty paint water that you normally use to stir paints in your Airbrush cup. Don't want to contaminate that white. You get Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's dedication to the stream. That is a lot of dedication, brother. And it's very much appreciated, Des. With new Space Marine and Cronker to be allowed at Alliance Open? Good question. Good question. Right, let's start off. Let's work the balls. Let's work the balls. So it's going to start off very speckly, we know that. It's going to take some time building those values. We want the flames to be brightest at the top. Now the sword is held at about that kind of angle. It's ever so slightly down, which means these flames are definitely not vertical. It's not like he's holding it like this. But we want to make sure we've got plenty of variation within the flames themselves. So some definite light points and some dark points. We will be coming in with the black ink again after we've done all of our pre-shade with the white to reset some of the values back down to 0. The reason we're doing that is, of course, we want to get a nice crisp, clean set of contrasts on this. Release is half October. Is it? They said out in October. Anyone remember October, where the codex went up for pre-order on the last day of October? We haven't had any dates yet, so as usual, we're keeping some, let's say, guarded optimism for when these codexes come out. I'm guessing you guys have all seen the change to the way auras affect keywords, where they would predominantly, I'll say, they would predominantly only affect the core keyword. There will almost certainly be auras that will affect everything, regardless of whether you've got the core keyword or not. I'm thinking stuff like, for instance, say, a Dark Shroud from Dark Angels / Ravenwing Codex. I can't see it depending like what your job is as to whether you get a -1 to hit on that. Polly, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Tony, I also like to change, because I have literally one aura in my army, and it's on a shit night, so I'm never taking it. I've taken it once to an event, and that was because the points were weird, and that was all I could fit in. It was not a good choice. I'd have been better off taking something else and going under points. Such a bad night. Right. There we go. We'll leave that for our value layer on this side for a sec. We'll come back to here. There says never neglect the balls. Absolutely, man. Oft overlooked. So just to snipe in, we want our body to go. Just using that rocking motion with the thumb. And make sure we don't get any of our ink pooling. We've got a lot of different contours and recesses, especially to the flame element of this. I'm going to make sure that we don't suddenly fire a load of ink around a corner, not intending to do. And we're going to give sort of the mid-section of this ball a lot of brightness. We'll do a little less underneath, so there's a bit more of a contrast. But certainly, we want the whole thing to be relatively bright. There, we'll put some of the darkness in the flames coming up and out of it. Looking forward to beating my local players on an even keel, so they can't moan about the Marine Codex. I mean, they still will. Look, I have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've only lost 5 games to Marines, but I'll say 6 just in case there's one I've forgotten. Since their codex came out. Marines are strong because they get an easy shot at everything. They've got some phenomenal stratagems, they've got some great units, there's no weak point in the army. And that's why Marines are super strong right now, is because they have nothing that's bad, and they have too many choices that are good, as well as also being extremely forgiving. Now, I'll whinge about how powerful Marines are because they're the only ones that have all of those sort of goodies ticked off on the wish list of their army. But if you're consistently losing to Marines, you're either playing someone that's really, really good, or you're shit. So, you know, sometimes you've got to look inwards at why you're losing. I've said this story on stream many times now. When I started playing 40k when I was in my 20s, and had a break after discovering things like cider and girls as a teenager. When I came back in my 20s, I lost every single game I played straight for a year. And I blamed everything. Oh, my dice were shit. Oh, my army's shit. Oh, my opponent cheated. Anything I could possibly put the blame onto. It wasn't me. It's not my fault I lost. How can it possibly be my fault I lost? And after a while, I started to work out bearing in mind, after a while I'd gone through like 4 armies, I started to work out that perhaps actually this has fuck all to do with my army, or the dice. My opponent's definitely better than me. So I have to learn to be good. And we started analysing our mistakes. We kept losing games, we started analysing our mistakes. And then after a while, we started winning. And we didn't stop. Suddenly, I went from being the guy that couldn't win a game to being the guy that everyone wanted to get that win against. It's like, if I could beat Jay. So, don't worry about it. Marines, utter bullshit. Utter bullshit. But, it's not unbeatable. Tell your local lads they should tune into the show. I'll give them some tips on how to play. Sort it out. You've lost 3 games since it came out. Have you played more than 3 games? I just want to chuck that one out there. Like, we've got to eliminate the obvious questions first. The assumption is that yes, you have played a minimum of 4. Kelvin Raven, what up, man? I'm doing good, by the way. I missed your question earlier on. Having a good week. My daughter wanting to learn to paint has managed to get me motivated to start tackling a tidy grey plastic. 2 full squads of high elves finished today. Nice, dude. Are these the new cow elves? Or are these something like from the old school days? 15 to 20. Mate, that's not a bad success record. So for my practice games, I used to use the ITC Battles app. But seeing as the secondaries currently don't have descriptions on, and I'm going to need to use chapter approved anyway, I've started just using pen and paper. But let's check the app out, shall we? Let's have a shifty on the app. See what my stats are. I think that's 75%. That's not bad. That's not a bad set of stats. This was between the Marine Codex dropping and 9th for that. It's not a bad strike rate. I can live with that. That tournament percentage used to be a lot better though, and then Knights just got bad. Or rather, worse. Right, we're going to leave the flames for a second. We'll start working on the blade. Now, we need to obviously bring in some OSL from the flames onto the sword, because we're going to start off with purple from this end. By the time we get to around the middle point, we're going to be working up to a bright pink using Menoth White Highlight, which is going to lead into a bright yellow, which is then going to move down through the spectrum to red, which is what this orb is going to be predominantly. But I want that to influence these sections around the sword. We want a nice bright path along the center of the blade. So we've got a lot of values to get right here. Let's start off. Dang. Let's start off without the super vibro sword that we just had, but start building the brightness up right in the center of that sword. Quickly clean the tip. Gotta keep your tip clean. Des doing God's work there, man. Undefeated Knight, played 1 game so far. Varric makes it stay, so can I. Varric hasn't played me, neither of you. I will break you. Wow, you got the old school ones. Damn, man. Got your White Lions. They're one of my favourite elf units back in the day. I thought they looked sick. Just back and forth, tracing that line for now. We'll hit that curve at the same time. Same with that one. And this is just establishing a path right up the front for when we start laying down the colour. Now I appreciate at the moment everything just looks a little bit odd, certainly very speckly, not very smooth. Don't worry, we're going to clean all of that up before we start laying those colours down. And I'm just going to start feathering out some of those areas. I think we should definitely, on these circles, probably just go work with some edge highlighting rather than this, but I still want a little bit of a gradient going on. So let's just... I'm trying to work out my score in ninth. I've not lost a practice game here, and I've played 5. Yeah, I think I've 5 games in here, undefeated. Then at tournaments, I have gone 1 and 2, 3 and 0, and 2 and 1. So I've lost 3 games, won 6. So I've got 11 wins, 3 losses, which is 14. Just over 20%. So keeping that 80% win ratio going on. Are we non-metallic metal? So Rocky, purple, this end, yellow in the middle, red this end, with, you know, a little bit of hooker lipstick pink, a little bit of orange. Tony, we went 2-1 at Atlantic with a pretty big win over Grey Knights in game 1. A hard fought but well-deserved win against Mark Cromblehome, one of the best Eldar players in the world, in game 2, and his Harlequins, after he made a pretty disastrous error that I capitalised on pretty strongly. And then lost to the biggest counter to my list you could possibly have in a game of 40k. Harlequin bike spam. Ugh. Rocky, peace out, brother. See you soon. Got the value up there. Again, just come back in on the middle. I know we're taking a long time just getting down the white, which is going to be covered up. But let's be honest, this is kind of important. This is going to help set the tone for the entire sword. I just want this corner to be a little bit brighter. So just coming in on that. Dry it down just with some air from the airbrush. A bit more white. More air. More white. More air. There you go. Air, paint, 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 as Kenny would say. And I think I'm going to leave that side of the sword like that for now. Just check this side for the orbs, and we are good. The middle part of the blade, the back part, if I'm honest, I'm going to leave that dark. We are going to paint this as a lava blade. So, it's going to be good. Going to be good. 10 white lines, fuck yeah. Swordmasters, Dragon Princes, Sea God, Jesus wept. Spearmen, Chariot, Dragons, fuck me, mate. You've got a lot. You have a lot of work ahead, mate. You got to get on with that. Right, same deal. Work the back of the blade, down the middle. Anyone know what this part of a sword is actually called? I know all parts of swords have got names because it's a thing, and so somebody would have named every part of it. But fuck knows. Fuck knows. The belly, that'll do. Cheers, Nappy. Good to see you there, dude, as well. Locking that in, getting that highlight down, building up that little bit of a glow we're going to have from around that flame sphere. It's going to blend out a little at the top, touch. And that section there was just a little dark, so there we go. So we've got our white down. This is going to help the maximum value, to the brightest part essentially, of our mini stand out. I'm just going to get some more of this into the very top of those flames. This one has a lot more variation in it to this, just because of the way the angle has worked when we've been spraying. I want to make sure that they both have the same super bright value. Notice how this, actually the ink got a little rubbed off. It must have just touched the glove perhaps. Yeah, just there. There you go. Got to be careful with inks. They come off the model super easy. Long cure times. There we are. Right, speaking of long cure times, let's just flush this through. Grab the hairdryer. Sort that one out. 15 of those bites of paint starting on 2, so lots of painting, but to a tabletop standard plus, and then you go back and do more detail shakes diamonds at a different time. I think that's the only way to do it, mate. If you try doing all that shit at once, you'll literally go insane. They're horrible. Horrible. Haywire bites with Zephyr glaives. It's a Kopesh. Yes. I knew the sword itself was a Kopesh. But different parts of it. Sharp bit, not sharp bit. Fat bit, thin bit, pointy bit. That's the level of my expertise when it comes to swords. Right, quickly wipe out the inside of our airbrush cup. Clean the tip. Boom. Back in black. Go straight back to that carbon black ink. And now we're going to really darken down some of these areas. Go 1-to-1 with this. Doesn't need quite as much thinning as the white does. Crazy Act. What up, brother? Just quickly dry this down, help cure some of that ink. Boom. Right. So, one of the things we want to do is create some really big sets of contrast on those flames. We want to also darken down the very edges of the sword. So we're going to start off very carefully, just hitting the edges. And what we're actually doing here is we're aiming past the mini. So I'm kind of aiming at where my little finger is in relation to the blade. So if I try and get this in the right place for you to be able to see it. So we're aiming at my little finger, pulling the trigger there. You can see the paint. You see that slight shine appearing there. We're then just dropping the airbrush down slightly, using the overspray to hit the blade. So we're starting off the miniature, and then just dragging this down to be on target. What we won't do is spray here, because that'll undo too much of the white. So you get the idea of what's going on here. When we get to an area like this, we'll have to come in close, use that rock-in motion, and again spray past, and work that darkness in. Get right in here, shut down that area a little bit, and right here as well. So super small amounts of paint. Need to support the blade slightly. Trying to put my finger somewhere it's nice and flat so we're not completely a sort of vulnerable point for the paint. Just going to get into some of these crevices, darken those down to try and give us again that same sense of contrast that we got on this set of flames, but over here. Just getting under here. Tiny amount of paint. Super small amounts of ink. Don't want to get any on the ball. Just that little area of the flames there. Same right in here. So again, we will support the sword. Super close. Tiny trigger movement. Who says you can't get precision using your thumb? They're wrong. Especially with inks, it's easy. You need the smallest movement to get that coming out. Which is why I recommend as well this particular airbrush. It's good for all these little bits of detail as well as all them base coats. A number of times people ask me for airbrush advice. Like, oh, which airbrush should I get? Get this one. Oh, okay, cool. 2 weeks later, yeah, I don't really like my airbrushing. Really? Yeah, I bought this one instead because it was cheaper, but it basically looked the same. That's your problem. Get the underside of that flame sphere. Cool, right. Let's check this bad boy out. Let's get in here. So again, using that technique that's just spray past the miniature, not directly at it. So the overspray do what we need it to do. Then I want to get through this line here to break up the value between those two. Solid dark line. So going very thin, working from a distance, so we get a nice little feathered effect. It helps it stop being such a straight line, a delineation. We do want that gap in there. A bit further, a bit more paint. So you got a nice dark area right there. Let's do this side. Look at the difference. Just the top of that is made. Got to do the bottom actually. No, we won't do the bottom yet. We'll do the bottom last. Reason being, I can still use this area to put my finger to support this. Dude, that's awesome. Back up on katana, it's Shinogi. Cool. I did not know that, despite the fact that I owned a katana. A real one. After when I was doing Bushido. I brought dishonor to my family when I had to sell the sword. To pay an electric bill, believe it or not. SLS Miniatures, thank you for that follow, dude. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're enjoying the current monochrome work that we're doing. Give it time, man. Not much time. A couple of minutes. Start laying some colour down. Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So again, adding that contrast into those flames. This area right here, I'm probably just going to use a wash for and hand paint the contrast in there. That doesn't need an airbrush. Let's get in up here with these flames. We'll come back and do the top of the blade, then we'll do the bottom of the blade directly after, and that's our value layer for this established. Really darken down some of these flames now. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot of bright colours on this. So where we've got black here won't be black. At this end of the sword, we're looking for a nice vibrant red. And I thought about using inks for it, but the ink is actually too powerful. There's a bang. If we went with a red ink and then worked up through to oranges, that ink would still be pushing through hard. We just wouldn't get an option to see the majesty of some of those colours we're going to use. A lot of pigment strength in an ink. Will it be a whip? Yes. Just drop it and see what people are painting tonight. We're going to paint a sword of many colours after it is currently only, well, technically speaking, none. Right. Just going to get him right under there. Shit, hit the white twice now. That's okay. That's okay, we can fix that easily enough. Again, spray past the sword, not at the sword. And let the overspray take its time and do what it do. I'm looking to give our elves a very nice solid edge to this. And then when we get down there, we want that OSL to come in. We just sort of fade that corner out a bit. Like so. So now I'm getting like Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth style flashbacks, but that would have been the other way around. White edges, black center. Somebody once asked me if I could paint a sword exactly like Sephiroth's, and I'm like, when you say exactly, do you want the glow like to extend past the blade? And they were like, yeah, definitely. I want like a black blade and a white glow around the blade. You don't know how this miniature thing works, do you? Keldon, it was, man. Like, I did Bushido for 4 years, and I did that prior to wrestling. It gave me a solid foundation of like strikes and things like that for cage fighting as well. And I had a great time doing it, dude. Like, my sensei was an absolute boss. Scott was epic. Really nice, peaceful dude until he didn't need to be anymore. Or he needed to not be, rather, I should say. Super chill. Very easy to get on with. And we did all the kendo, nunchucks, staff. And then we started doing some of slightly more esoteric things here and there as well. Tonfa, Sai, we did a little bit of 3-section staff, which is definitely not a Bushido weapon at all. But why not? 'Cause it was fun. Boom. So super dark exterior, little transition up into that extremely bright 100% the value white that we've got there. Awesome start. Right, let's flush this through, clean the airbrush, and bam. Yeah, here's some scotch tape and a bright LED. Knock yourself out, homeboy. Damn, man. I can understand why someone would say, like, please store this in the armory, because, like, keeping weapons accounted for on base, but that seems a little OTT. I don't feel that's necessarily needed, but whatever, right? It's their prerogative, their decision. They make the wrong one. So now we're left with a interesting choice. Where do we start our colour scheme? we start by putting down the base coats for one, working up and through to the other? If so, which one do we start? Do we get down both base coats? So do a purple bit, do a red bit, and then work up and down from there. Meld the two in the middle with some weird crisscrossing set of sprays and paint. I actually don't know. I've been thinking about this, trying to work out the order. I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's look at the theory of things, right? If I put purple down on the miniature and then put red on top of that, the red will give me some okay coverage over the purple, but it won't wipe out the purple. If I put the red down and put the purple on top, the purple will wipe out the red much easier. So that's already telling me in my head I need to go dark to light on this. But we're going to go purple into pink. We're going to brighten that pink up with some mouth white highlight before bringing in yellow through orange into red. This is the path the sword is going to take. I've got a little bit of black that we can use to get the extremes at both ends of that as well. Get really dark purple, a really nice dark red should we need to. The value coat, that base coat, that pre-highlight we put down should be enough to cover us on this. But I'm thinking one of the best things to do would be to start with the purple, then do the red, then move into a little of the pink, the orange, and then get the yellow down. Brighten the pink with that, and then come back to the yellow for that. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to 7 airbrush passes, maybe 9, depending on how much of the black we've got to use. So this is obviously a complex set of stuff, and this may not work. We're trying this for the first time ever. What I can tell you is that I've got decent faith in both my abilities as a painter and just that this is going to look cool. And even if it doesn't, that we're going to rescue it. I can also tell you that the paint we're going to use will be real fucking thin. 2 to 1 at minimum paint to flow improver. Sorry, flow improver to paint. Nightmare, doing well, brother. How are you? I understand CSM, don't worry. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. That should not have happened, but... Righty. So purple orb, red orb. We need to hit all of the orb. I'm going to come down to about sort of here. So the start of those flames, so when we put the red in, we get a transition from the red from about here, building up through till we get the pure red along that end. And what we might end up having to do is just flick-flack back and forth till we get a good base coat down for that. But we've got many colours to put on top of this, so there's loads of room. Oh, dude, that sucks. What did you do to wrist? So we go from a distance, keep our pressure light. That's the amount of paint I'm releasing through the brush. And the reason we're working from so far away is to get a nice diffuse set of passes on here. When we get decent coverage, we don't want to see any lilac. We're not painting, what do you call them, those little lavender sweets, whatever they were called, Parma violets, that's it. We're clearly violet sweets, not lavender. But, you know, I had to get my memory there somehow. Just looking for decent purple all over. Oh shit. Damn, man, that sucks. Danny, how you doing, brother? Danny and I have got a date on Monday. We're going to be painting some non-metallic metal. Giving Danny some pre-lesson homework to do. He's going to be working on his glazes this weekend. So Jager, when he says, shall we play PlayStation? I need you to say, no! Mm-mm. You got glazing to do. I'm a harsh taskmaster, but you chose a subject to do which is tricky and requires much patience. Great discipline. Was that a South Park thing? Like, can I use grenades now, whatever it was? Like, no, need more discipline. My new build... What? My new build to build is supposed to arrive tomorrow. Right! That makes more sense. Nightmare, I'm really sorry to hear that, brother. If there's anything we can do to help you out, then please let us know, yeah? I mean, I can't afford to buy you a car, so hopefully your insurance is going to be alright with that. But the main thing is everything's still attached, you know. Aside from the fact you're in a temporary state, hopefully at least, of pain and inconvenience, it isn't permanent. Alright, let's keep getting this purple down. It's worth taking your time on all of this, yeah? You still see we're a little mottled through here. Still want a good strong purple. Can't allow this to not have a decent purple on it. Even the dark areas, the bits that are just black, we need to ensure that they have a purple tone to them, just a lot darker. My housemate has been trying to buy a new graphics card all day. It's the new one that just got released. I have no idea which version it is he wants, but he's had some mates building a PC for him, and they're all very excited they get to play with brand new sexy toys from Nvidia. Target number 4. Magnus did do quite a substantial amount of shit wrong. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, dude. Alright. Pretty sure. Quick couple of passes out the blade. Be sure we're done with that section. Inside. Just dust out a little bit more of the purple. Like so. So you can still see, but you can still see on the blade here, that nice brighter area. If we turn this guy upside down, you see a lot of the darker purple, especially on the flames. Flip it this way up, you get a lot more of that bright purple at the top. Again, center of the blade there. Flush that out, grab some red. Also, dude, was that 6 months? Half a year, man. Milestone achieved. Congratulations, dude. Alright, let's get the red down. Again, 2-to-1. We're using some Cador red base from P3. Beautiful red. Backflow that. We're good. And again, from a distance, nice and slow, taking it easy, start to build that red. You can see we're getting some decent coverage where it's playing with that purple. We're getting that real nice looking pink right now. That's pretty good. Just make sure all of this gets its red on. Thoradora the Explorer, thank you very much for that follow and welcome to the stream. Again, still working from a distance, keeping this nice and diffuse. The amount of flow improver we've got in the pot is what's stopping this from drying in mid-air as well. Which means we're not getting particularly speckled effect by the time it hits the mini. So the motion we're doing with the airbrush is we're starting to paint about here. Oh, holy shit! Justica03, thank you very much for throwing those subs out. Let me give some meeps out. Let's get some love and some hype in the stream right now for Justica number 3, the third and best Justica. Absolute superstar. Mini Day Trader, Red Dragon Minis, King Kappa Killer, and Nacho _M. And Drew, you guys are all subs. If you guys are here in the stream right, oh god, there's too many things with Mini Day Trader. If you guys are in a stream right now, exclamation point win and exclamation point mystery. Both of these things will tell you why it's a good idea to be a sub right now. Red Dragon Minis, he knows. Brother, that's a long time lurking. Speak up. King Kappa Killer. There's your meeps as well. And Nacho. Oh yeah. Finally, Drew. Boom. All sorted. There you are, folks. You've all got your meeps. Humongous thank you to Justica number 3. Iron Man was just trying to save his homeboys, is all I'm saying. I mean, that one I'll give you. Magnus did all of the wrong. All of the wrong. Much wrong was done. So I was saying earlier on was the motion we're taking for this to ensure a good even coverage is we're starting to paint here. We're moving the airbrush along. When we get to about this point, we're letting go of the needle, stopping the paint in the air, which means that this section is just like the sort of follow through, right? It's that little bit of extra paint is just describing that arc, and that's going to help give us a nice gradual fade. Then once we got that part done, we can come back in, just hit this front end a little bit more. You notice how we're getting bands of that red moving through. We're getting that fade down. Drunk Mystic, how you doing, mate? And then when we get here, gets evened out, make sure that there's nothing but a super strong red that end of the blade. Magnus could definitely have handled it better. I mean, yes. In his defense, his dad was a bit of a dick. Like, definite dickish tendencies. Upbringing, not so hot. But just had one job to do, Magnus. You couldn't even do that. Taking a slight break from the Siege of Terror books at the moment. Big E could have handled it better as well. You're absolutely right. If he'd actually not been a bit of a dick. Some would say an arrogant motherfucker. Then none of this would have happened. You know? But let's be honest. Telling one of your sons, look, the only reason we made you was so you could sit on that big chair and basically be a human-ish lighthouse for all eternity. It's a tough conversation to have. I mean, I'd say that the conversation about this is where babies come from, probably on a scale a little easier to have than that conversation. Alright, pretty sure we're okay with our red there. Just want to make sure there's no areas where we've just got black or just got a little white. So like on this front flame there, that needed a bit. Bang in. Now let's look at our transition. So we've got a definite dark purple here. We've got some of that red starting to come through. I think that's gradual enough before we get around to there. I'm going to tidy up a little bit on this bottom section of the blade now. Remember, we are going to turn this into a lava sword. And so we're going to darken down a lot of the outside again. Use the airbrush for that as well. So it doesn't also matter too much if our transitions aren't perfect, because when we start applying some lava effects to the surface of the blade to show the transmutational nature of what is going on here, to help cover up those little inconsistencies that we've got in that blend. Let's flush this, or do orange. Orange won't cover the pink very well. Let's flush this. We'll have to do the orange on top of the pink anyway, but the pink will obliterate it. He tried to help Angron. He did try to help Mortarion as well. He did a really shit job of that, let's be honest. Turn number 4. I feel that. Russ definitely could have seen some therapy. Maybe should have been hugged by, I'd say his mum, but you know, test tube baby, awkward. Pink, sunset red. Oh yeah. This very thick paint. We're going 1 to 4. So Horus was just jealous. It's like, there's another baby. I'm not the new one. What bullshit is this? He didn't like sharing with others. Therefore, douche. Done a few SM conversions lately. Sadly, won't be able to be here for whip later. I wanted to share it anyway. I'll throw it in the whip. I wanted to ask you to post a link here also. Put it in Discord, and then if people want to see it, they can grab it in Discord. But what you could do is watch the video back on YouTube later. Although I don't remember if I put the last Magnus one up. I think I was dead on Tuesday, so may not have done. If so, I'll put up that one and this one tonight. You can get your feedback. Tis speaking the truth. Right, so now we've got to get the change both along there and through the flames. So let's start on the easy part first, which is the sword blade. I just decided that on the fly, the sword blade is the easiest part of this. Now we've got a little OSL to do around this section. So let's start bringing in this pink. Now using just the pink. There's no purple in this whatsoever. We're going on nice and thin. And we're staying super controlled. Because as soon as we lose that control, we lose this mini entirely. So we need to go on very thin, do many passes of very thin pink paint on these guys. And the reason for that is pretty much solely because I want the control over the transition just a little bit more. You've got to be a bit more careful. Obviously, we were literally just saying that about how you apply the paint. But because you're not working with a blend of this and the base color underneath, you are fully in control of where the pink starts and stops. Let's hit some more of the top edge of this blade, which may or may not have lava cracks on it, so let's do it now just in case there may not camp winds out on that. Again, spraying past the blade and then just gently introducing it with the overspray. Clean off the tip a little and then come back, start working that up to a super bright pink. Essentially what we're doing here is edge highlighting using the airbrush. So this does a couple of things. A, it proves it's definitely possible to do. And B, helps give you that little bit of gradation in your highlights. We'll be going brighter than this as well. We're going to get some almost baby pink going on with a mixture of this and Men Off White highlight in a bit. Starting to get that colour down, but a little bit too much of a step change between that and the purple, so we're going to step back from the miniature a bit now and then just carefully feather that out a little, just a tiny bit of paint, just helping to blend that through. Clean that just a touch. Just use the airbrush to fuzz those lines a touch. We will be, of course, like I've said, using that kind of lava style on this sword. We're painting a little black over some of this, paint some cracks in. That's going to really help us out with our transitions. I mean, they're not going to need to be quite so on the money. All right, let's go back to the balls. Working on the upper surface of these. We want to transition from the bottom all the way up to the top. So we're trying to leave a darker recess in there. If we have to come back in with some inks and do that by hand, not an issue. We'll at least get the groundwork down with the airbrush for it. So we'll leave that for a sec, go on to the flames at the top. Start popping these out a little bit. There's obviously some brushed highlights on all of this stuff. So, not just yet. Not just yet. He was just a shit dad. He was a bit of a shit dad. I bet it was the kind of dad that thought what they really, really wanted for their 17th birthday was a Haynes manual for the car that they weren't going to be given. Like, here you go, it's a Haynes manual for a Volkswagen Golf. You brought me a Golf? No. But you'll know how to fix it if you buy one. Is glazing a fancy word for blending tons? No. What you need to do is go and watch the episode we did on glazing. We did the Dark Angel shoulder pad glazing tutorial, and we properly went through every facet of glazing, from the preparation of your palette all the way through to the action itself and why you're doing it. But in a nutshell, it is extremely thin paint, to the point where you are effectively painting the miniature with a very thin layer of dirty water that is creating a filter, would be the correct term for it, but you're tinting the layer, would be another way of saying it, and that is giving you a different look to something by using that tiny amount of paint. Glazing is an extremely important technique to learn. There is a lot you can do with just a couple of glazes. Now, you can do all of this with a glaze without the airbrush, but I love doing the airbrush. So here's a Haynes manual, Thunderhawk gunships. You ain't getting one, but here's a Haynes for it. That'll do. That's kind of it. That was the kind of dad the Big E was, I swear. Like, for your birthday, I brought you a set of socket wrenches. Practical. What's the 40k equivalent of a set of socket wrenches? It would be some like weird AdMech device. Just going to grab the hairdryer quick. We're getting a little bit of build up of wet paint on that. Take that away. Bang in. Never done blending. No, but what we will do then, in that case, is teach you how to glaze in that lesson with a set of colours that will give a rough effect of a non-metallic metal style finish. But if you've never done glazing, that is by far a more important step to use. Oh shit, hairdryer. Get a hairdryer. You're going to need a hairdryer. You wouldn't remember their birthdays. Malcolm would get the present and sign it from the Big E. Yeah. Be like, love dad, written on the bottom of it, in what's definitely not his signature. Malcolm would just put it in like large block capitals, Roman numerals. No, you must buy expensive GHD hairdryers. Definitely just get a cheap, shitty one. This is the Paul Anthony Travel Dry hairdryer from Amazon Prime, and cost less than, by pence, £10. We spared no expense. You must try the Chilean sea bass. All of them have their birthday on Sanguinala. Oh, that's rough. Yeah, I bet they all hated Sangi. Right. It's our birthday too. Sanguinala, it's great. Look at all my loyal subjects. I mean, he was a guy who was a little bit image obsessed, right? You just see him, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest Primarch of them all? Oh, it's you, Sanguinius. Oh, you. great getting 1,000 presents on Father's Day, though. I mean, he gets 1,000 presents every day. Alright, we've got a nice little sort of junction point for these flames right here. So I want to make that nice and bright. Same just there. We're trying to hit these from just the top. Trying to keep our airbrush flow to just those areas. We've got a little overspill. That's fine. We know we're going to have to come in and darken some of this down by hand. We're just getting a lot of the work done and our transitions done with the airbrush. Those final highlights and shadows will always be by hand. The airbrush is part of your arsenal of painting equipment, not all of it. So if anyone from Den of Imagination is listening, burn. How super juvenile. Great artists. If you want your mini to look like it was sexually assaulted by an airbrush. Right, that's half of the job done. Now, let's get that purple coming down the sword. I mean, Sugar, that is pretty gnarly. You know, it's all good, but it wasn't like he just casually squatted a Warhound Titan in the middle of a battlefield. Hashtag always do leg day. Also hashtag Angron's the motherfucking man. That's definitely a possibility for the Golden Throne. But in the 9th edition rulebook, in the fluff section, the Emperor's looking relatively healthy. Looks like he's regenerating. Angron the Games Master. Absolutely. There's... fuck the actual lore. Apparently, the lore is for the most innocent of all 40k players. But... having a bit of a fun conversation about what Big Daddy E would get Magnus for his birthday, I think that's totally fine. Also, Magnus would definitely get like a... he'd definitely get like a DS, I feel. Looks like the kind of guy that would enjoy a DS. Right, just want to get a little bit of a gradient around the bottom side of that hole and around the side nearest to the belly of the sword, as Napi thought as it was, on both of these two. And then we're going to take this pink into the red a little further as well. So obviously got to be careful here when we fuck this up. It's not the end of the world, but it does make my life much more difficult. Now we're starting to see that going on. I want it to extend past the purple, essentially. I'm not worried about the desaturation between the red and the purple, top and bottom there, because that'll be covered in black. Those lava lines are really going to come up trumps in that that equation. A little bit more of a tighter line around that OSL that we've got going on. Now let's again do middle of our sword blade. Just lay down quick pass to begin with. Just like a tiny amount of paint. Going full pressure on the air though. Okay, move the brush off. Liking this. Just put the exact same hairdryer. Awesome. Why are P3 in such awful bottles? Because they don't come in that, obviously, with just some fucking like felt tip pen scribbled on the front, you knob. Come in these. Like, nothing wrong with that, but it's not as good as a bottle. Also, that's a really, really good green. Yeah. Sure, there was a little bit of lore for years ago. The Saints Testing was big. Nope. Can't see that at all. Definitely cannot. It's not canon. She's a canoness. It's different. Why are all paints light droppers? Because companies can sell you more paint this way. We know this to be the case. The only ones that are usually Vallejo, Secret Weapon, Scale, Monuments, Pro Acryl line. I think some MIG ones, maybe. They might be in pots. Ever read about Sensei? No, I haven't. Then we just feather in that pink out a touch more. Boom. And that's our pink done. It's going to tidy up a little bit more on the flames, but on the blade, that's kind of where we're stopping. Actually, this corner needs definitely brightening up just a touch more. So let's just hit these flames a touch. I think I probably said touch. A touch too much in the last minute or two. Army Painter, but their paints do make up for it by being really shit. Army Painter paints are stupidly thick. They're not as thick as this one from Vallejo, but they are really, really gopping. And you've got to thin them down a lot. I don't rate them much at all. However, their washes are the best in the business. But their paints are just like, nah. Quick dry through. Yeah, it is. Washes are great. They're great. The Emperor's Blood release. Oh! You mean the shamans? Like the ones that sacrifice themselves for him? No? Okay, perhaps not. Fair enough. Feeling pretty effing good about that so far, which is cool. Right, flush this, clean the pot, because that is a extremely vibrant pink. You're gonna backflow with just water in there, help get everything out of the needle. I think you just said needle, I meant nozzle. Right, now we're going in for some orange. We've got some Troll Slayer orange going on. Do love a bit of Trollstar orange. The only problem with orange is there's frequently not a lot of pigment strength to it. And we've got a lot to cover here. So, let's start on the blade. Got a nice flat area to work on here. We're starting to see how this will interact with our purple a little bit. Definitely picking up some of that red, isn't it? Look at that. Right, this is going to take a little bit of finessing because mostly the fact that it's orange is a pain, but we'll be alright. The bit we're going to need to worry about is this point right in the center. That bit needs to be super bright, and obviously you want the tip of the sword to probably have a little bit of brightness to it as well. So just feathering that orange in there. That is looking pretty sexy. The issue is that, like I was just saying, we're going to end up with, for now at least, a grey area just here. Now what we're going to do to that is use some Melloth White highlight mixed in with both the pink to come in from the one side and the yellow to come in from the other. And then finish it off with just that Melloth White highlight before maybe even going up to pure white. And that will help smooth out the transition between those two colours. Because of where they sit on a colour wheel and how they interact with each other, you get this desaturated line there in the middle, which obviously is at complete odds with either end of this thing. Okay, I mean, that could be interesting. I'm still sticking to the, like, Empress of Perpetual, need to give him a damn good stab in, and then suddenly all is good for the world. But equally, I hope it literally never happens. Never. Let the 40k universe be absolutely at seconds to midnight for the entire setting that it's in. So we're just pumping up some of these upper areas on the flames with this orange, and look! Oh! Yes! Love. Trolls that orange. Such a good colour. Hasn't got the greatest pigment strength, needs plenty of coats to get really vibrant on something. But God, when you lay this shit down properly, Look at the difference between this side, just the red, and kapow! This side. Crazy. Right, I want to get to some of these little flames just down here on the blade. Ideally without the moe getting in the way. So again, sniping those highlights in. Tiny amount of paint being allowed through. And clean the tip. So it's not quite enough coming out. How's knights working for me? Knights are working well for me, dude. The obvious counters are still the obvious counters. And that won't change for now, at least. But we're still kicking ass and taking names, man. Went to an event last weekend where I beat one of the legit best Eldar players in the world, who was using a mixture of Harlequins and Drukhari, after he made a mistake which I fully capitalised on, and then lost in the final. I was on table 1 for the entire day, got randomly drawn on table 1, won my first game by more than anybody else to remain first position, 97-point win for Knights versus a competent Grey Knight player, who again made one mistake, didn't think something through far enough, and that basically threw the game for him. And it wasn't something like as simple as put a character in the wrong place or something like that. The mistake was that he pessimistically looked at his psychic phase and how much damage he would do, rather than looking at it from a, if it goes well I can still do this, if it goes badly I can still do this, and having both those options in his head. So when his psychic phase went really well, he overcommitted too much to killing one knight, and what he should have done is committed only just enough to kill that knight and then dropped another one. So same damage per point as the standard ones, though more heavy means less standard ones, based on machine points because of power levels. If they do the same damage per point as a standard one, but they cost more points, I'm assuming then that you're saying like, oh, 40 points of heavy intercessors does the same number of wounds as 40 points of intercessors. I think heavy intercessors are going to be pretty key in most armies, because 3 wounds, 3 up save, T5 is mental to stick on something that's got OBSEC. That's super strong. She's blocking a little bit. They will be in staying with any defensive strats, so I'm thinking my buddy Nick, who we're doing his Dark Angels commission next month, is definitely going to be having some of those in his army, with Azrael going, have a 4-up invulnerable save as well, chaps. Stream finish on Mondays at about 8 to 8:30, dude. So we're getting an hour and a half in on Monday night. I give you some homework, you can go away and practice while I'm in Jib. And then the Monday after I come back, we'll do that last half hour feedback session, refinement session. Make sure that knowledge is stuck. Awesome, dude. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be cool. God, I fucking love that orange sword. Oh, so powerful. Like, you know what I mean? Ooh. Ooh. Right, let's not neglect the balls. Must ensure optimal paint to ball ratio achieved. Now we're coming in from a slight under angle here, but I want to make sure that we leave a lot of that dark, so we're just sort of focusing the airbrush on the tips of these flames. But like the first one, some of these strands that come down to the sword will just get in there, pump them up a little bit. Rainbow Magnus, indeed. The armor is going to be not candy red, because I think the candy coats just look a bit naff in general. Only my personal thoughts. If you guys love them, great, crack on with it. we need variation in our painting anyway, so that nobody's minis look exactly the same as anybody else's. But we're going to go with a red workup over green. So if you guys missed the stream where we did the Wraith Knight a while back, where we did that insane red workup from a green base coat, then you're going to want to tune in for that one or watch the VOD. It's a crazy technique. You can use it with a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be green up to red. You can use any kind of contrasting colors. You can get pinks and purples down as the base coat for your yellows. Use that color theory. There we go. Right, we're going to pause on this. We're going to go back to the pink. God, this is fucking sexy. Yeah, Rich always tends to splatter when first pass paint through it. Are you thinning the paint in the pot? And if so, what order are you putting stuff in the pot? I think I might know what this means, if it's just the first time it happens. Okay, and are you doing a little bit of the backflow technique to mix those two together? If you end up in my not Balvenie apple juice, oh, there you go, dude. Right, let me show you. This is the magic. This is where it happens right now. So I'm having to make a larger mix than I would normally do for this because this is quite thick. I've added 8 drops of flow improver to the pot. I'm going to add 2 drops of this sunset red. So we're working 1 to 4, as you can at home. I'm going to try and make a second drop slightly smaller. Bam. Then we're going to add in a drop of Menoth White Highlight from P3. W crons for now. Good lad. Good lad. 1 drop of that. And we mix. Yep, this is why everyone has the problem with Marines. It's not that they're necessarily OP. It's just that they have so many good choices that are super optimal, and they can really define their role. So I'm going to show the backflow technique. So here's the backflow, right? Put your airbrush into your palm. You depress the trigger to allow just air coming through, and then you pull back ever so slightly so the needle comes out. The air flows up through here, out through the hole, can't go anywhere, so it goes back through that hole, up and through here. Bad taste bear. Thank you for following, welcome. What that does is it helps to sort of percolate the pot that you've got and just allow a perfect mix of what is now a bubblegum pink. Then, just quickly do that, spray somewhere you don't care. Yeah. You can actually see that that part of my chopping board is noticeably thicker, like millimeters thicker than the rest of it, because that's where I spray my paint for the practice passes. I need to make sure the consistency is right. I don't go straight from doing that to the mini, because when you put paint in with the flow improver, the paint is denser, it's going to sink right to the bottom. So that first pull of the airbrush, if you don't mix it properly, don't use that backflow technique, means that you've ended up with paint right at the front of the needle. Bam, that hits your mini. It's like a Jackson Pollock in there. As far as Saragon's comment, you should always have the cap on your airbrush. So the crown, this bit here, if we just take that off, you should never airbrush like that, ever. Having this on, when the air first tries to come out of the hole that the needle is in, it will shoot out a decent enough angle, right? Having that cap there helps essentially rifle your barrel a little bit. So it helps keep you a nice thinner cone. Without it, it spreads out a bit more. Way too hard to control. Yours got a vented cap. You can still do it, but you've got to sort of bury your hand around it, like so. I think vented caps are really shit. I've never understood why they've got them. You know. At Kingfish Games, every year, in an extremely satisfying like afternoon, I peel all the paint off this. Right, let's check out this baby pink. Oh man, that's some bright pink, still saturated. Right, let's do a test run on the flames. Just build a little brightness on that. It's very thin, so we need to be sure that we're not gonna just start pushing the paint around on the Mini too much. Also, we're making sure that our angle isn't going to go across these two, right? Don't want to put pink on where the orange is. Not on the fire part. Not on the fire part of it. There you go. That's a little less saturated pink. It's got sort of plenty of volume rather, to it. I'm liking it. Let's get this back corner of the sword. Hit it with another one of those somewhat ghetto airbrush edge highlights. Dry it out with a bit of air. Pop a bit more on. Nice, liking that a lot. Right. Let's get this little flame orb going on. Might need to just drop in a little bit more flow improver, but I'm trying to do it without, just because if I make this too thin, we really run the risk of spidering on the blade, and that will ruin all the work we've done this evening if we get that. So, Tindromel, how you doing, man? So, we just take our time, do a couple of coats. This is speckling though, so we're going to have to drop in a little water. 2 drops. Mate, it's super satisfying. The only issue is that airbrush thinner makes the primer really, really thin. Thank you for that host as well, man. So when I recoat it, it takes like 5 coats of prime spray to get a decent finish on it. So when I move something on it, it doesn't immediately scratch and tear. Okay, that's much, much thinner now. So we've got to watch this, but also much less speckly. It's got to be super careful. God, that's still got power though, hasn't it? How bright that is. Right, this little OSL section. Super thin. Back in there, just put another highlight on the top of that orb. Keep building that little transition we're working on right there. Like so. I think about a close cup, only 15 quid, that'll do it, man. Yeah. I never understood the crown ones. Like, what's the point of it? It doesn't actually add anything. In fact, it's a detriment to your airbrush. So they'll probably tell you something like, you know, it makes it more child safe or whatever, and like if you're letting your child get near your airbrush, then it's you that needs work, not your airbrush. Okay, there we go. Not going to push it, but we just want a little bit more highlight on the upper edge of that part of the blade. Like so. So we're getting some real vibrancy out of that pink. I am, however, just going to feather this along a touch more into that yellow, or it will be a yellow area, into the orange right now. Tiny amounts of paint. Let's do this side. Again, start with the orb, then get this little edge picked out. Does nozzle size matter? Absolutely. Size does in fact matter a lot with that. This is a 0.35mm needle. The difference between this one and a 0.5mm is extraordinary for what, 1/7 of a millimeter. Makes a humongous difference. I am at some point next year going to buy a Iwata custom airbrush, which I can get a 0.15mm needle for. I'm happy to spend the extra and buy an Iwata product because, frankly, they're the fucking best. Anyone from here works at Iwata. I rep your shit all the time. Sponsorship bliss. But my god, I'd rather have that than any other airbrush manufacturer. They are bulletproof. They're so good. They're so good, I bought one that I'm giving away at the Alliance Open, whether I'm there or not. One lucky mofo is going to be winning that airbrush. It's just there. We'll do the Mohawk point if we can work out the camera and the head. Just there. There you go. That was way too hard. That midsection of the blade a bit more. Can you only get a 0.6mm cap? That cool. It's. Wait, you said nozzle size, not. This is the part that you're looking to buy, right? This bit. That bit, sorry, can be pretty much any size. Make sure it's one that fits your needle. As long as it fits on this section, you're golden. I thought you meant as in airbrush needle size, which is my bad, which really matters. As long as you can get 2mm, you don't want 2mm. Through the physical limitation of the choreographer switch because of metal mini that shit you play in games, so I hope to play it bad way up. Nice, I've never played it, but enjoy. I'm sure it's cool. Alright, there we go. That's our pink layer done. Flush this through. Actually, that's not a pink layer done. I'm going to flush some of that through. I'm going to add in some more Magnus white highlight. I'm just going to come out now and just pop in one more highlight on this. A bit more flow improvement in the pot. And then knock in 2 drops of this. Baby pink now. Okay. Very pale, somewhat desaturated. And we're just going to hit the extremes on our flames. This little part of the blade. More on his orb, but not on. Importantly, not on the blade. Not just yet. This is a little bit of OSL, which means the light source must be brighter than the thing it is applying its light to. What we will do though, just in the middle of the sword blade, build this a little brighter. Apologies if you can't see this so well. This is very tricky. That is now obviously super bright. Don't worry if it's a little too bright. Remember, we've got the lava to go in on top of this. Just going to feather that down a little more that way. This is going to help us stop having that desaturated area. And I appreciate that on there, that looks way worse than this side for now, but sometimes things get worse before they get better. You guys have seen me go all the way up to white before now on a perfectly good yellow glaze. For things like my knights, for the paneling and all that sort of jazz. Well, this is going to serve the same sort of purpose for us with our yellow on this. Okay, there we go. Any fun reactions you guys had in your hobby going through custom airports? When I worked in the biz, I brought my D from the world that was, and a guy stands there, sort of naked girls in regards to my witch elves. There was some curious looks from people around that just walked on. No. I've taken my knights on a few planes. I've had one guy ask me to open my carry case before now, which used to contain things like dice, tape measures and so on, because my knights were in the hold before I got my KR case. Because at one point there were 3 assassins in there and he wanted to know what the weird shape was, and where I had a tape measure as well. because I forgot to pack it at the last minute and just grabbed it off the side and jammed it in this. It should be in my regular bag. But the weirdest like customs interaction I've ever had though was in Bali, where the customs agent tried to con me. He was trying to get a bribe, basically. There are a lot of countries in the world that corruption is a thing, right? You just gotta, as a citizen of the world, be somewhat aware of that at times, and learn ways to deal with it. And this guy wanted a bribe because I was carrying a load of cigars through customs, and he was trying to give me the shakedown, and I knew my rights, and so I didn't let that happen to me. But I know he got a load of other people, because one of the guys in my party ended up giving him $50, for which he didn't get a receipt for, as I told him flat out he would not. So yeah. Right, here we go. That's nice golden yellow mix. A little bit of our Trollstar orange and some yellow. We're going to start powering up this section of the blade. Bring that through. Get a little bit of coverage on that pink. Still working super slow. Ooh. Oh, look at that on camera. It's not quite that vivid in real life, but damn, the camera makes that look good. I need to wipe out some of the paint that got up in here, but oh yeah. And I'm going to come into the middle with just some Menoth white to bring those two together, get that hot heat point in the center. But fuck yes, man. You look at this shit. We're obviously feeling the inspiration on a car journey home today. This was definitely one of my better ideas. That flame is so hot. God, this is why I love the airbrush, right? Instant gratification. Sometimes you do something and it just works immediately, and this is one of them. Woo. Frozen! How you doing? Been a long time, brother. How's things? Skyfly Arts, T-Bone to Max. How's it going, folks? Let's get some love and hype in the stream for our good friend, Mr. Christopher Frozen. Or is it Christian? Or are you just Chris? If I say just Chris, like Chris is the worst of those three outcomes, it's definitely not. How you doing, bro? That was impressive breath control there. Definitely take up vocals and join the band. No, because my singing sounds shit. I can hit all the notes. Like, I can do all of those things. No issue. Because when I was a teenager, like 18 to early 20s, I used to go out and do karaoke and would regularly not be walking home myself. However, for some strange reason, my voice broke a second time when I was 19, and now I just sound like shit. So, you know. Liking Magnus. Magnus did lots wrong. Loads wrong. I heard you shouting Frosted for a solid minute. It was close. It was close. Held that note, man. We're painting Magnus's pimp stick, his hitty sword, the dagger of change, whatever you want to call it. Is there a name for this thing? Has he got a magic sword name? Or is it just, like... Ted? I don't know. I almost dipped my brush in my tequila when I looked up at that. Well, brother. Big O McSlasher. Jeff. Jeff is a good one. I think we could probably go with Jeff. Unless it's a real name, the sword is Jeff. Right, just trying to make sure our values match on the yellow. And we need to get a bit more at the point of the sword for definite. That looks a lot better. Now we need to make sure we get the same. It's called the Blade of Magnus. He wasn't necessarily the most imaginative soul then, was he? Yeah, we're in about the right place, actually. Cool. That was a happy accident. A serendipity, some might say. Clearly one of the best words ever invented. Let's pop these flames out. Bring that heat. So how was your stream, Chris? What were you up to this evening? Were you painting some more scantily clad ladies? Or were you finally doing that Drukhari army challenge you promised me you'd do? There's no getting out of that one. No get out of jail free card. No go straight to go. I'm afraid, sir, you are at the Park Lane of challenges, which is a 48-hour army challenge. Yes, still doing Laura's birthday prezi. Fair. Happy birthday to Loz. But, I mean, get them Drukhari out, man. Got to get this model up for Tuesday. Pressure's on, bro. Pressure is on. Just going to do a little spot to right just in here. Just feel that area is a little bit flat without it. That's better. That's better. Right, now we're going to bring the heat even more. We're going to flush through some of what we've got in the pot here. Add in more flow improver. Add in more Menoth white highlight. Amp this yellow right up. Say add in more. We haven't added in any yet. It's just yellow and orange. Just yellow and orange. Well, Chris, there will be another Necronathon because we're going to end up with more Necron toys. Obviously. I'm thinking a weekend where we absolutely slay triple monolith. I could get behind. I mean, the monoliths look sick AF. And 3 of them would look really cool. Like, big shelf full of knights. Move the Necrons from there, upper level. Big shelf full of monoliths. Just running me airbrush those. Feeling the power there. That'd be good. That would be good. Right. So again, we're going back to the midpoint of the blade. We're going to start feathering this area out, get it closer to what's a desaturated color anyway, since we've already got that desaturated reaction essentially between these two paints. And that is not what you want to do. That, in fact, is what's known in the business as a complete fucker. Well, we are making this the lava sword, and there may be a little bit of a lava crack, a little bit of substrate, whatever you want to call it, on that area. F in the chat. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not the perfection that I was obviously after, but seen worse. We've recovered from worse. To be honest, I think I can fix that with the airbrush, let alone doing like a cover up for it. Because that happened to land in like close to the right place. So we're alright. Keith! Doing well, dude. How about you? So let's just start just sniping this in now. Work into a little pink. Back into some of that yellow. Keep it pretty central. Build that up. Okay. Now we're going to feather some of this out. We come back in with some pink over the tops of this once we've got it up to white. But for now, just laying a foundation down for our sort of confluence point of these two colours. Clean the tip. Sometimes when you shit on Magnus, he shits on you, friend. Listen, motherfucker. Magnus just did something wrong. Now I know it's obviously a very, very much yellow shade there, but don't worry, we're going to come back and rescue it with some pink from the other side very shortly. Pretty sure we're not going to get up to the point where we start laying the lava down on this evening, seeing as it's just gone 11 PM. How thin should paint be in an airbrush? People will tell you about the same consistency as skimmed milk, but that isn't really always true. It should be thin enough so that your paint doesn't spatter at all. So look at the board, right? Notice how, if you look at the edges of this infinity sign, that we're just, you know, blasely slapping down there. They go from saturation, like full color, gradually out to black. What they don't do, look at this down here, it's all these little dots. Yeah? See those little dots? That's paint spatter. That's where your paint's too thick. Look at some of this pink down here. Yeah, you see those little, like spiderweb patterns, just little dots coming out. This is too thick. This is just right. It takes time to feel it, to find the point where it's absolutely 100% correct. And it'll be different for every paint, and it'll be different for different processes. Sometimes you will want something a little bit thicker, sometimes not, you know. And there are times when what I really want is something that is basically water coming out the end of the airbrush. So even thinner than what we've just laid down there. Depends on what you're doing. So there's no easy answer. But the general rule is don't let your paint splatter. So some things need to be thinned a little more than others. All of my paints in the dropper bowls have at minimum 30-ish drops of flow improver and 30 drops of thinner into them before they go in this. They're then thinned at minimum 1-to-1 flow improver to paint ratio. I'm thinning this mouth white highlight right now 2-to-1 flow improver to paint. Sometimes I just need 1-to-1, but because of what I'm doing, because I want to lay down the thinnest coat over what we've just put down on the miniature, this is more than enough. Also, because it's a very pale colour, it's more prone to spatter than a lot of others. As a result, we've got to thin it more so it happens less. Sub-assemblies I like, but any hands-on manage the handling of the larger parts, such as Magnus Red's whole body, for example. Yes, firstly, what you do is you smoke a expensive cigar that comes in individual wooden boxes. This was the Camacho Liberty series from 2013. I'm joking. I mean, just a piece of wood. Drill 2 holes into it, like all the way through if you need to. Fold some paper clips around this because it's a coffin box. This slides off and get to the inside. I've got a little bit of blue tack in there, holding those two in place. Blue tack on top, holding them again in place. And we double pin Magnus's feet. You see a pin right in there, as well as that one. I've used this for things like the Telemon. You'll see floating down through the completed pics gallery there. A couple of other large-scale miniatures as well. Super, super handy. However, one of the best things about shot glasses, and I've done this before, with enough blue tack on there, you can put an entire night base on that. Airbrush Flow Improver is legit. If you're using thinner to thin the majority of your stuff in the airbrush, then I'm sorry, friend, but you are doing it incorrectly. There's always room for personal taste and interpretation, obviously. So if it's working for you, that's great. But I would strongly suggest that everyone uses thinner for primer and varnish only, and uses Flow Improver for everything else. Right, there you go. We've got a super bright point there in the middle. We come back, like I said, glazing some yellow, glazing some pink. But for now, this is kind of where we want to stop. Although I'm going to thin that with a little water now as well. We get a bit more speckle. Right, if you've been watching a bunch of gunpla vids, seeing certain things using car paint, just a neat observation. Yeah, an airbrush is a tool. You can use it for anything. Traditional art, 2D art, airbrushing looks spectacular. Painted motorcycle fuel tanks and stuff like that. Anyone ever seen a rocking motorbike, flames and skulls all over it? One of these. Sometimes literally one of these. You know, it's a professional grade tool. Clean tip, way behave. Good. Clean tip again. What's a good thinner? Vallejo Airbrush thinner. No secrets there, man. Vallejo Airbrush thinner and Vallejo Airbrush Flow Improver are legit. You can get them on Amazon Prime. Cost about £9, I think, delivered in the UK. So solid deal on that. Solid deal. Also from Amazon Prime, don't forget your shot glasses and your blue tack, because if nothing else, it means that when you finish your mini, you can have a party. Boom. So solid bright point in there. What size of my needle? That's a personal question, my friend. I can't answer that on Twitch. 0.35 millimeters in the Eclipse HPCS, which is perfect for doing priming and really good, as you've seen on some of my streams, for doing some pretty intense detail work as well. You can do a lot with this. I'm looking to buy at some point in the future. I know, mate. I know. You think you're sorry. The ladyship's like 0.35 of a millimeter. What PSI am I running? 45 PSI. 45. Crank your compressor all the way up to max. Fire that paint out. The reason being, pressure builds up in the hose, and when your cone of paint comes out and hits the miniature, if your PSI is set high, you can get a really, really fine cone of paint, and you can snipe in some airbrush highlights. I do that a lot here. Right now, the hose, which is the tank for my compressor, is at 45 PSI. Yeah, you get more ionization as well, but overall, I feel you get more control. Now, as soon as you pull the trigger and dispense air, so that's the downward motion on the needle, the pressure will inevitably drop from 45 quite quickly through to 40, 37, 35, 32, and then start hitting into those 20s, where if you hold it down till there's like nothing left in the hose and it's just completely what's being put out by the compressor, you get about a solid 22. So for a sustained spray, you're good. Nemesis Dread Knight is now across the room. Well, you're not using a regulator like Des does, because he uses a compressor like that as well, and he gets great results. Right, now we're going to go crazy thin. 8 drops of flow improver. 2 drops of water. That's water clearly without the T. Target number 4, that's not about your pressure, it's about the amount of paint that you're allowing out. If you allow too much paint out, you'll get that. It's called spider webbing. So the paint is hitting the mini at the target, and then immediately building up, the pressure is coming in from behind it and forcing that paint out. Excuse me. 0.2 for detail, 0.4 for priming. Sounds good to me, mate. Like I said, looking to buy one of those custom Iowata 0.15 brushes. Don't you have water without tea? Are you mad? Firstly, not all Englishmen drink tea. Secondly, shut up. Cervantes! How's it going, man? So we're talking about how thin your paint should be earlier on. This pink is super, super, super thin. Yeah, look at the amount of coverage we're not getting out of this pink. Still spraying, still spraying, still spraying, still spraying. Oh my god, take it forever. Now we've got mostly sort of barely purple. This is why there's no hard and fast answer to how thin your paint should be. There's a minimum setting, which is don't let it spatter. So you don't drink tea. I started drinking Turkish apple tea. I went to a restaurant recently and we had Turkish apple tea as a little drink at the end. That was fucking delicious. I want to buy some, but Amazon's got stuff that's either synthetic or stuff that everyone said doesn't taste really like apples. It just tastes a bit weak. So, if anyone's got the skinny on some Turkish apple tea, let me know. Dick Oz, thank you for the follow. What I'm going to do now is going to take all of this area and bring in some more of that pink. So we're just laying this down as a glaze over what we've done. Danny, if you bring a dry brush, there's only one place that's going. It's going to be dark, warm, and you ain't gonna like it. So this is glazing with the airbrush now. In fact, here's a good example. Look down here at this massive of paint, right? Got all these different colours. I'm going to put the pink in over the top of those many, many times over. Look at that stripe that's slowly building up in colour, right? Look how it's just tinting every one of those for now. This is glazing. You can do this by hand with a regular brush. You can do it with an airbrush, you know. But that's like 12 coats, maybe 15 now. We're still not at full opacity. This is how glazing works. Providing a filter, a tint over something. Oh, Rocky, we're not even close to finished. We've got another stream through on the sword because it's going to be a magical lava sword of change. Oh, so much to do. So angling this away from that center point now, so we can just make sure the purple and the pink goes down that one path. 420, glaze it. I think 0.35 glaze it, but that doesn't really work. We need a slightly more airbrush friendly number than 420. There you go. Now we get that pink into there. We get to that brightest point there in the center of the sword. Hit the same this side. This is what I was saying earlier on, how sometimes, especially when you're airbrushing, you go through a set of steps and your mini looks worse before it gets better. We do it a lot with yellows. 105, I can't rep the Patriot, man. That's a piece of shit airbrush. Like, a friend of mine bought one. I told him absolutely not to. And he's like, no, I like Badger, you know, they've never steered me wrong. I'm like, don't do it, man, don't do it. And he's already messaged me with like, I think I bought the wrong airbrush. Thick Oz, yes, I do. I have a quick release on my airbrush, which is this here, right? You pull that, and the airbrush comes out. This is a little pressure tap. You can turn it down so it stops now, all airflow coming. I rarely use that. I just use my thumb. It's all about paint control. Rocky, glad you think so, man. Are we on this side? No, we've done that side. We're on this side. We're on this side. I'll tell you now. Like I'm booked up as a painter till June. We're in September, and I've been booked up till June since July. Basically, it's a long wait list, and I only take commissions now that I want to do. So either for friends, or because I love the mini that people want me to paint, or whatever it might be, right? Because the stream matters more to me than keeping the commissions going. So I'm not going to take. So I was counting. I'm not going to take any old random commission. I've turned plenty of people down now that have asked me to paint certain things because I just don't want to paint them. If you want to get the most out of any commission painter, whether it's myself or somebody else, say, look, I want you to paint this mini. And sure, please run some design decisions by me. But otherwise, I want you to paint it to the best of your ability, however you want to paint it. Because we're forever being asked to do shit like, oh, could you paint this, but I want the pipes on his chest to be neon green, I want his armor to be black, I want his eyes to be extremely bright red, and I want navy blue power weapons blended up to white. And you look at it and you're like, even on paper that sounds shit. I'm never ever painting that for you. Ever. But you'll get people ask you to do that. Chris is absolutely correct. If anyone wants a commission, you know, it's done in that artist style. It's always done in my style, but obviously in the color scheme that you guys will choose. Probably send photos of my existing item and say, make it cool, make it fit in. Yeah, that's a good way to go. End of the day, commission painter is one thing above all, an artist. And so, if they try and force their style to change to become something else, it's probably not going to work very well. All my stuff is done with the airbrush. You're always going to be guaranteed to get in those lovely fades, the gradients, the transitions that you know I love in my work. But you let me just go for it on a miniature, all bets are off. Just fucking paint what you want to paint. So it gets a bit hypey. Gets real interesting real quick at that point. And we get to do fun shit like this. Just working out where I want to draw the line on our yellow for a bit. Now, in about a minute or so, we'll be breaking out the whip gallery, heading on over to Discord. So ! Discord in the chat. Head to the work in progress section, upload some pics of what you've been working on. The immortal words of Rick Sanchez, show me what you got. That wasn't Rick, that was the space head, damn it. That was such a good line as well. Get to the chopper! 95, thank you for the follow and welcome to the stream. I don't just tell you to do your thing with a commission, because they want those good results. If you didn't commission you to hand paint something, you know what I mean? There are plenty of times where I don't use the airbrush on a commission piece, but I'm going to use the airbrush. You want me to paint some marines? Cool. We'll get a load of airbrush work done on your marines before we then start throwing down with our edge highlights, our recess shades, all that. Because that's how I paint. If somebody commissioned me and said, I want you to paint these marines for me, I want you to copy exactly the heavy metal team's style, I'd be like, cool. I mean, thanks for reaching out, bro. I really appreciate it. But that's not how I paint. So, no. And if I'm brutally honest, I'm not cheap. I charge too much for someone to come to me that doesn't want my style of painting. There are cheaper people out there if all you want is, I want it to look a little bit like the box art, but don't spend so much time on it. There's I could name probably 10 people off the top of my head to get a commission like that from. Tough shit, dude. Too late. Alright, protecting this bad boy, getting that Testor's dull coat out. Just realised that I sprayed this all over the hand, which might not have been the best idea because it's got the masking fluid on there, but I should just be able to peel this off as well at the same time. But good, strong coat of that. Let's dry that down. Well, we'll let it cure for a bit. Do some whip. Whoa. Whoa. Grim. And then we'll go on from there. Let's hit up Discord. Whip section. We got Santi up first. Santi says, trying to accentuate the dents in the armor. I want to do this throughout all the plates. Some will be covered in battle damage, sponged metal and rust. Okay. We've done a lot of bits of work on creating 3D battle damage. Rocky, oh, definitely have a good weekend, man. Definitely. Got dinner on Saturday night, which I'm very much looking forward to. Probably breakfast. When doing battle damage, one of the easiest ways to make it look 3D and accentuated, that jumps out from the miniature into your viewer's eyes, is to create a light highlight underneath the darker shadow. So here's your battle damage, one great big like slash on a model, then you just come in underneath that with a nice light highlight just around the corner of it, gives you that 3D effect. You're talking about sponging on stuff. You can do, but everything you're doing here is very clean, very smooth brushwork. It takes longer, but it's worth it. I would just paint on the battle damage rather than use a sponge. Now you're going to get a slightly more random pattern with a sponge, but you still won't, because the sponge itself is going to have a pattern to it, and you'll just repeat it, but in a way that's harder to see. So if you do go with a sponge because you want the randomness, make sure you rotate the bit of sponge, rotate the model, so it mixes that up a little bit. Lovely blue though, dude. Really, really nice blue. You did a good job with those fades, getting those glazes down, all being done by hand. It's a good job, man. Haven't painted Gazzy yet. Looking forward to it one day. Right, Crownblade, working on some Underworld stuff. Nice. Like the Skelly Warband. DW1080. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. These are good, dude. You could probably do with something more on the base itself. Like they've got a little bit of texture there. Maybe throw a little bit of a wash, very, very thin down wash into that, darken some of those recesses a little bit. Or some pigments. Obviously pigments are great for basing. I use them all the time. It's for a local competition. Nice, dude. Nice. That's some pretty good competition painting, so keep that up. But as usual, mate, you've done a good job. Why not do glowing eyes on a skeleton champ, though? You know, push yourself a little bit. So paint the recess, make sure there's a darker rim around it. Then paint the orbital bone with a glaze, so sort of down a little bit, and then that little crisp highlight on there. Mate, that tack life is the king. This thing right here, this is an absolutely amazing. It's better than a Dremel because it weighs almost nothing, whereas a Dremel is a weighty foe. And if you want the cordless, like relatively lightweight one, it's a fortune. Whereas that, 15 quid all in, rechargeable, USB powered. Yeah, do some glowy eyes, Crownblade. You saw me do it on all those Necrons. You can do it here. Looking cool though, man. Complete warband done. I love the little guy crawling out of the ground. He's my favourite. Yeah, super cheap, man. Super cheap. Jaeger. Finally having this monstrosity come to life. It's the Xenomorph on roids. Nice, champ. I want to get a bit of a view in. Once the glue has dried on the Ripper connecting to the tongue, just file down the top of that, get some gap filling going on, then file it again, maybe even one more time after that to real, smooth that out. Because as soon as you put paint on that, if there's any part of it that isn't flush, like, why is that bit joined on? You'll hate it. But this guy looks sick AF. Super, super sick. Great job. Love the imagination. Nice work. It's one of my favourite Tyranid minis as well. Nappy. Holy Book says no! Whip on a little Fun conversion project. Nice. So this is one of the Indomitus characters, but it's been converted so much I can't tell you which. I think one of the Blade Guard Ancients, perhaps? Sorry. Yeah, it might be the... No, he hasn't even got a weapon. One of the Blade Guard Veterans was what I was trying to say. Looks cool. Looks very cool. Bit grainy. I'm guessing that maybe some undercoat or... It doesn't look much like a pre-shade. Hopefully there's no texture on the Mini. Could be the Lieutenant. Yeah. There are some other subtle mods to the head too that haven't been noticed yet too. Nice. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. It's the alternative head, but I think it will be a bastard to paint. I prefer the first one. Much prefer the first one. Yeah, for sure. Kit bash / converted eradicators. Cute. I like that. If he's laying down that melter gun though, you know that there's nothing big coming at him. Crazy Act says, done for now. I only see 2 Indomitus boxes here, mate. And some Wraiths and Cesaras. You know, I feel this was a half effort from you. Where's the third one? You know? Disappoint. They're looking good though, man. And Immortals. I thought there might have been some. I was just looking at the back thinking, that looks like more than 40 warriors. So yeah, it looks like you did 5 Immortals as well. Same here. In fact, there they are. Oh, you went with the Gorse. Tesla, man. Must be nice to get paid to hobby. I mean, I did not get paid that weekend. I spent that weekend. Let's see. Just postage cost about $130. So the editing cost some money. We spent somewhere in the region of 300 quid that weekend without also paying for the army, extra paints, extra basic materials, and so on and so on and so on. Because that doesn't count. Money put into the stream that weekend from me, about £300. Money returned from the stream to me, not even close. Like, miles of difference. About $25, I think I made in donations. That's not why we do it, though. You guys don't donate. Buy toy soldiers, paint them, put them in the whip. Loving it, dude. Very crusty, very broken. I like. Danny. He's getting his crons on the go as well. Nice, dude. I love the murder giraffes. Murder giraffes are the best ones. Second Necronathon. I did say we'd do 3 monoliths in a weekend. You know. I also got approached recently. It is a sombrero. I was trying to work out what the fuck was going on with that, but that's cool. That's cool. Not a second. 2 Indom box Necronathon. Mate, we did 3 Indom boxes. Aside from some of the characters. 60 warriors. 18 scarab bases. 9 Scorpec dudes, 3 plasmacytes, 2 plasmancers, a cryptic I converted out of a plasmancer and an overlord, a royal warden, 3 murder giraffes, whatever else was in there. Slinks away an American. Yeah, motherfucker. Take that. 110 minis. 2,500 points in only 48 hours. In fact, it was only 40 and a half hours. So, count those in your freedom units. Okay, we've got more sombreros. We've got an entire sombrero Necron army. This is genius. Absolute genius. Saragon, 10 breaches built, drilled, and primed. Nice. I saw your finished piranha. Looks good. Looks good. That's not how you spell senior. Or senor. Mexicrons. I feel that's just about on the edge, but we can go with it. I like that. That's a good one. Perfection. Right, Quid. Almost done on Librarian. About 90% done, he says. You say Librarian, but with that staff, I'm really seeing Chaos Sorcerer. That is super sick. The skeleton looks like it's removable for transport, at least. You know. Technically, it was only 105 minutes in 40 hours. Actually, I think you'll find it was 106. Because I didn't count the Royal Warden, but I did have to finish his base off. So, jog on. You know you're playing because you're constantly trying to jump. No, that's too much. That's slightly too far. It's magnetized, so are the arms. Love it, dude. Very cool paint job. Love that blue. It's a beautiful blue. The blue on the stick is maybe a little too bright. It draws too much away from the miniature, I think. Might be worth just sort of glazing in some darker, especially in like the recesses, the ridges that the horns have got. Just because the rest of the work you've done to the mini is just kind of pushed to one side a little bit by how bright that is. Your eyes drawn to that instead of the skull face, the flames, that amazing set of glazing you've done. Like the foreleg on this guy is spot on, mate. Yeah, I really like what you've done, but that blue just pulls the attention away too much, I think. Better than you know, I set myself a target of finishing 3 models that weekend and finishing tonight. That was like 3 weeks ago. Glaze a dark blue to the staff. Yeah, I would. Just to temper how bright that is. You'll still keep the contrast, so you'll have something that is definitely attention grabbing and a focal point, but doesn't take the attention all the time. You'll still have people look at that initially, then follow the line of the staff down to the model, where they then start examining the model and go straight down through the path of the armor and that leg. They get to the floor, comes out through the skeleton. Get that path going. Right now, it's like, look at that blue stick. Look at the dude. Yeah, that's cool, but look at the blue stick. And you're kind of fighting back to it. So what I would do is, on the horns that you've got, they've got those little sort of bulbous bits of horn and the little recess in between. Just glaze some darker blues into that. Darker, more pronounced at the bottom to the top, perhaps, if you want. And just temper it a little bit so that the miniature as a whole can be looked at rather than just, it might just be the picture, but the top middle picture, all I'm doing is looking at the big, like, staff head for that. It's fucking sick though, dude. Great work. The tequila, the brush, and NDK in question. I mean, if you're just gonna do that, then that's on you, mate. Canatrix! Thank you for the fight. Cake Fisk, Blair, terrible pick. It is a terrible pick, but that is some pretty decent whipping going on there, man. Looks like some pre-shades going on these cyberpunk dwarfs. Good stuff, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. Murky Murker says, nearly done. That's some cool battle damage. That's good. You've got some highlights on the yellow, but they're kind of subtle, which I like. But I'd like to see a little bit more contrast, so it might be worth glazing in some darker yellows or even like a sepia brown, just in some of those panels a little bit. Probably more steampunk dwarfs. Good, dude. Good. So on the midsection, he's got that like belly protector thing going on below the chest armor, right? And if you just glaze up from, say, the midpoint of that belly armor, just up to the underside of the chest, something like that, you'll get that that contrast. You'll hit a darker value for it without detracting too much from the yellow. But I can see the highlights. It's just I have to really look for them. You've used a yellow that's not too many steps different, and that can lead, from a distance at least. Remember, we're looking at this, let's say 8 to 10 times the size of it actually is. On the mini at the right scale, at a distance, people will just see the yellow and they won't recognize the hard work you've put in. So, quick suggestion for you. Jaeger. Big boy gonna munch ya. I mean, your use of the English language there was appalling. That is sick, though. Very cool. Got the adrenal sacs going on. Looking good, man. Looking good. I can't vocabularize good. Sure there's a Boondock Saints gag for that. Right, that's it. We're out of the whip. So thank you very much to everyone putting their minis in. Just quick hair dry this. Make sure that varnish is fully cured before I show you guys the majesty of Magnus's poorly named Blade of Magnus. I'm loving that. Absolutely loving it. What we're going to do on the next stream, which will be Sunday night, we're going to take some black paint. We're going to paint over this with a flat black paint. Then, we're going to take some of that black paint and draw some little crack lines in there. I'm going to encrust the blade with lava. Going to highlight all that up. So we're going to freehand all over the blade part. Then we're going to come in, hit some washes, hit some highlights on the flames, little exposed areas that we'll still have on the blade itself. Really pop that out. So Magnus has a bicolor flaming lava sword of change. Usually known as Jeff. There we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let's go find someone to raid. Pass on the hobby love when we get to wherever we arrive on the hype train, the raid train. I want hype. I want some love in the stream. Wait, is Eeny Mini streaming tonight? I can't even see her on my friends list. Next stream. Oh, she changed her stream time. It's like 45 minutes away. That's it. I forgot that. Let's do something we haven't done for a while. Let's just hit the browse. Let's go for minifigures. See who's doing what. Oh, Cutthroat Cure painted Thanos. That could be cool. 2 dorks, 1 brush. Just painted something that looks obnoxiously bright. Let's see. Who else we got? A lot of people in the minifigures community playing games right now, by the looks of it. Wavy. Potentially. That's a bit of shit. Somebody called Grim Nista is playing other people's battle reports through Twitch, and he's playing some tabletop tactics stuff. That's a bit of a shitty thing to do. You know what? I think we're gonna go Cutthroat Kill. I'm liking what he's doing. He's got Thanos going on. Who doesn't love that? When we get there, as always, hype, emotes, say hi. If you don't follow him, give him a follow. Because follows are free and they help out every single content producer. Thanks for tonight. We'll see you Sunday. It's lava time on Sunday, baby. Peace out.